keeps you going as an entrepreneur? 5 words about tech roles. What's coming next? What's the future?
I think one of the main reasons I had success was because of the relationship that I was building. Relationships and your network are everything.
Thank you very much to all of you and welcome to the podcast. I'm Emmanuel, I'm your host, and this is Ellé, our guest.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you all.
And our audience is both in person, as you can see, and online. Joining today, we have an audience of change makers, I would say, who for some are already into the workforce, others still completing their degrees, and very likely a few professionals as well, because the event was shared on LinkedIn. This is our first episode since resuming this year the fellowship. Because there are new fellows joining as a second group today, I'm going to take just 1 minute to say a word about the fellowship, as this will sort of align everyone. So for those who don't know me yet and are joining for the first time, I'm Emmanuel. I'm the founder of Things Growth. Obviously, this is not run by myself only. There's Ankita here with us, who's been emailing you guys. Some of you are getting the opportunity to meet with her for the first time. I'm very grateful for everything the team is helping with. There's a few others with us not joining today. Tom, who you've met, and others. In short, who we are a global advisory firm, London-based, and we specialize in strategy, technology, AI, sustainability, finance, particularly M&A advisory, not only from the perspective of strategy, operations, but also from the perspective of embedding a few verticals into what we cover. I mentioned sustainability earlier, but there's a number of other hot topics nowadays that are always a part of everything we do in the corporate world. Regarding the fellowship, it's an initiative that we started 4 years ago to connect our firm with a pool of talent from top universities in the world that we can work with in various ways. Some have been joining us over the years, and Kita is one of them. She joined the fellowship nearly 3 years ago and is now with us, and others. I think of Christopher, I think of Sidar, and many others. The purpose of this is, number one, to offer events as an opportunity for learning, leadership development. Number two, networking. Number three, concrete work experiences in various ways. One is through operations, supporting us as a team, whether with sales or delivery, as well as the insights/research part of the work that we do, building knowledge and research for our various stakeholders, clients, partners, and others. So briefly, I think that's what we do. That's who we are. That's about the fellowship. And we'll have many more opportunities to discuss this. Because this is dedicated to a conversation with Ellé, without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest. So first of all, thank you, Ellé, for making time to join us today. And thank you to your business partner as well. Please introduce yourself if you'd like.
I'm Ellé's business partner. I deal with the product function at Hug. But yeah, I don't want to take Ellé's glory today, so I'm going to
Great, thank you. So to briefly introduce Ellé, I'll let her do this better than I can. She's a co-founder of an advisory firm in the particular segment of people and basically helping companies, particularly scale-ups, as well as large corporates, build their teams, specializing in technology, startups, scale-ups, and large organizations. She's helped a number of big names build their teams. She'll tell you more about this, but a couple of them are ASOS, Starling Bank, and even Bumble, right? I guess quite a few of you here are the generation that's very into digital applications, etc. So these names speak to you. And they are London-based, but I guess global, like most firms nowadays. And my first question then would be, Ellé, how would you introduce yourself to all audiences, not only potential clients, right? Because this is a podcast which might be enjoyed by various audiences. So how would you introduce yourself as a founder to both potential clients and this audience of potential talents? Because this is, I guess, the very people your clients do hire.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'll tailor this a little bit more to suit grads and post-grads. I know we might have some professionals online, but I think it will cater for all. But just because you're right in front of me, I'll tailor it a bit more to you guys, try and make this conversation a bit more helpful. Yeah, so essentially I went to uni, studied business. I kind of took that degree because I needed something to do, if I'm being completely honest. I was very bright in school, didn't have a clue what I wanted to do. Went to uni, studied business, got the business degree, and I still was kind of in limbo. Like, what do I do from here? It's a very generic degree. You can kind of go into anything. And yeah, I thought long and hard. And if I'm being totally honest with you, I tend to be very transparent in my conversations in general. So I think I literally typed into Google, high-paying jobs in London. I just wanted to get like my foot in the market, in the corporate ladder, and start earning some good money. So I looked online, saw jobs in sales, saw jobs in recruitment, and I thought, for me, sales is not going to work. Although I sell every day, like my services and what I do, I'm not like your super ballsy salesperson. I'm much more of like your friendly, I guess, consultant, as opposed to just pushing through sales. So for me, sales wasn't going to work. I landed a job in recruitment. That was my first like corporate job, if you like. And it gave me a lot of insight into how different businesses operate. So I started my journey recruiting for investment banking and asset management. I learned a lot, spoke to a lot of really interesting people, and it's a very interesting sector. I know you do a lot more work within this sector, Emmanuel, but for me, I wanted a change, and I wanted to feel like I was maybe more involved with the growth of these companies. And I feel like when you are helping to build teams for huge organizations, you don't really feel the impact that you're creating. So I left my first job in recruitment, moved to another recruitment agency where I focused on the startup and scale up landscape. I was placing a lot of like senior engineering and product and operational people within, a lot of like scale ups from like Motorway, Paddle. I worked with Flow, who have become a unicorn now, women's health tech. Again, built the teams for a lot of companies, ASOS, Starling, M&S, Bumble, Blockchain. We're working with some really interesting companies now as well. I don't think I can say all of them, but yeah, so I guess my journey has been uni, not knowing what to do, joining recruitment, and then I guess I worked my way up quite quickly in the companies that I was working at. It didn't come without its challenges. Growing up, and I guess like in my early career, if you like, I think as most of us do, I had a lot of like personal things going on at home, family issues, life issues that you deal with in general as, a young adult growing into, being like a fully fledged adult in the world. So I had a lot of problems going on in life, and I was kind of like, I just need to keep going with my career because I don't know about you guys, but I'm very ambitious, very driven. And if I have my mind set on something, I need to achieve it. So for me, I knew I just wanted to work my way up, and I was really enjoying like the people side of things. So I'll try and make it not so recruitment focused. But yeah, for me, I really enjoyed talking to people. I enjoyed learning about this. Again, I'm more tech specialized more than anything. So I'll just tailor a bit more towards that. So yeah, I really enjoyed learning about the technologies people were using, about, again, how companies operate, learning about the operational side, learning how products are created from 0 to 1. So yeah, I really liked feeling like I was part of that growth, growing these companies. And it got to a point, I set up my business 2.5, nearly 3 years ago now. So Dan, my business partner, we've been friends for a few years. And, every time we met up with each other, it was always, how are you doing with work? How are you doing work? Just constantly drowning in work. And both of us would be working over hours, all hours for, the companies that we were working for, but never really seeing much reward for ourselves. So we sat down and said, why don't we just give this a go ourselves? Like, why don't we set up our own company and try to do things a bit differently? So I think one of the main reasons I had success was because of the relationships that I was building. So for me, and I think in any area, no matter what you are doing work-wise, relationships and your network are everything. And in order for you to progress your career, you need to be ensuring that you're consistently building that network with the right people for you. So that might be different for everyone. But yeah, I worked really hard on building my network. So when I did set up my business, our business, it definitely wasn't easy, but it was a lot easier, I think, because we'd already had existing relationships that we'd built, as opposed to just jumping into something, setting up with no connections and no way to kind of get business and scale. So yeah, we're still relatively early stages. There's only 5 of us now actually in the business, plus someone in the US working remotely for us. But yeah, taking things slowly. And I think a lot of the insights that I might have about the clients that I've worked with and the companies that I've scaled could be very useful to all of you today in the audience. So I guess further to what Emmanuel said, we work on scaling mainly startups and scale-ups, anything from like pre-seed all the way to like unicorn status. We also work with some larger organizations. Again, I have nothing against larger orgs. I do love some of the ones that we work with, but typically I think the route we're trying to take is more startup and scale up. I think the scope of work is a lot more interesting for the types of like candidates that we work with, whether they are product, engineering, ops. And then aside from that, I also am a mentor at a company called Femme Palette. So although it says Femme, it's not just tailored towards women, but essentially I mentor and help people, whether they're grads, whether they are like before uni, not knowing what to do with themselves, or whether someone is early in their career and is just wanting some support from maybe someone else who's been on the same journey as them. I do some mentorship with them, and then I also now do some advisory for like VCs and PE firms, helping them again more with their portfolio companies, building them from the ground up from a talent and growth perspective. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Sure, thank you. So I suggest we break the session down into 3 main parts, some visibility to those in attendance. Number 1, about entrepreneurship. You just hinted at your journey, probably a couple more things here. Number 2, I think we could talk about the types of roles that
there's lots of like common roles and trends at the moment, so we can definitely touch on that
you guys are working on, and how these are evolving and changing fast in the age of both AI and sustainability and other trends. And a third point could focus more on what's coming next in terms of us hearing a lot here and there that AI is replacing a lot of jobs or creating opportunities as well for other jobs. What's the future from your perspective, and how is this coming slowly? Mm-hmm. So your career as an entrepreneur, jobs and how these are evolving, and the future in terms of how the workplace would look like. More about your career as an entrepreneur. From day one, right? How has it been? How has the journey been in terms of maybe starting with a simple idea that probably was too simplistic in the way you saw it, and then you started experiencing challenges over time, or maybe it became smoother and easier as you kept going? So how has the curve been specifically?
I mean, I think our story is a little bit different to most, because I would say that I think we've probably had a more challenging time than maybe a lot of other companies that have started, just because of the time that we set up. So I'm not too sure how many of you may have been. I assume maybe most of you in the audience probably haven't been on the job market because you're busy studying right now. But the last few years, the job market's been very different, let's say, right, Emmanuel, to how it has been previously, although we are now starting to bounce back, which is amazing. And I think I'm very happy about that. But essentially, we launched our business in September 2022. Up until September, I think I was probably a very good point in my career. I was doing lots of deals, placing lots of amazing people in amazing jobs. And the market was great. And then as soon as we set up the business, the market crashed. So we definitely chose probably the worst time to set up. I would say we had a lot of challenges from day one. I'm trying to think of a way to explain this broad and not so recruitment orientated, but essentially the tech market, a lot of businesses had scaled too fast post-COVID, and then they realized that they had to make some changes, and we can talk more about transformation later. But essentially a lot of companies, they scaled too fast. Then they had to make a lot of redundancies, and we are still seeing it now. Meta just recently made some more layoffs. We've seen companies like Stripe make thousands of layoffs, Microsoft, the big companies, but also some of the smaller businesses and players as well. Loads, it's not, globally, there have been a lot of changes in businesses in recent years. And I think that, when we started, the business was it probably started the business in the worst time we could, but with that, we learned so much. And I think, resilience is a word that is used very often in, I guess, industries like this, but it really was like a test of resilience. So we set up in a time that it was very, very hard to get work. A lot of businesses just didn't have the budget to spend on either agency partnerships with people like us, or even any additional like external services, whether that's like consulting firms, whether it's budget for like tools and technologies to bring into the business. A lot of businesses just didn't have the budget to pay for this. So it was very, very hard. But again, going back to relationships, I think the reason why, again, by no means are we like absolutely flying and doing absolutely amazingly, but we are now in a very stable position because we built the relationships that we have, and we've really tried to offer more than maybe what others in the market offer. And I think this would go for like any discipline, whatever you do for work. I think if you want to just be okay and good at your job, like sure, I'm sure everyone can be just good at their job and just do what you need to do. But in order to achieve success, whether that be in your business, in your job, in your own consultancy, whatever it might be that you're doing, you need to go a bit above and beyond. And, you know, you would hope that if you've chosen a path in something that you genuinely love or enjoy, I won't always say love. Not everyone is absolutely in love with their work. I happen to be, but it doesn't go for everyone. So yeah, as long as you enjoy what you do, you should be willing to go a bit above and beyond. You should be wanting to constantly upskill yourself. You should be wanting to consistently, again, build your network, meet other people in the space that can teach you. And also, what could you possibly teach them? You know, there might be skills that you have, you can share. So I think amongst Hug is the name of our business, by the way. Amongst the whole team at Hug, we are always trying to learn, always looking at other ways in which we can benefit our clients. And again, it would go the same if you were employed as well. You know, look at ways in which you can go to your manager or your team lead or go to your clients and how can you benefit them. Look at kind of maybe pain points for the business, find out what those look like. Look at the services you're offering and look at the services that other people in the market are offering. How can you ensure yours are better? So I guess from a recruitment perspective, one thing that we do, and the reason why we're called Hug is because we want to be more personable. Like recruitment in the last, I guess, just in recent years in general, there are loads of really amazing, great recruiters, but not every recruiter has a great name, as I'm sure maybe some of you have heard. And I'm working very hard to change that stereotype, but I think it is changing.
What keeps you going as an entrepreneur? Because obviously you're going through ups and downs. We all do, whatever we're doing. What are the little tips that you've learned, whether about yourself or the job itself, that keep you going? And also, how do you build your teams? What's the little secret that you could share with the audience in terms of how to build teams, the values that you bring in, type of people you're looking for, and things like that? So shall we start with the first part of the question, or the first question actually, how you keep going, the little secrets?
I would say like one of the main things is just to never lose sight of your end goal, but you have to be conscious and aware that the end goal may change. So I think it's good to have an ideal, you know, what is the end goal here? What are we trying to achieve? Whether if it's in like creating a business, whether it's a career goal, always have your like end goal in mind. But yeah, be open to change, be open to adapting, and I'm sure we'll get onto that with like evolvements in technology and digital in a moment. But yeah, be open to change. I think nothing is a simple route, and actually I've stolen this from Dmitry Gursky from Flow, actually, because I went to a fireside chat with him recently, and he kind of described it as like the mountain. Let's say we're climbing Mount Everest, right? You have the goal, you know what you want to do, you want to reach the top and you want to get to the summit, but when you are climbing this mountain, there may be a tree in the middle of your path. So you're going to have to change. There might be different weather conditions that mean the optimal route that you were going to take is now changing. But if you want to get to that goal, you will find a way to adapt. And I think also something else that has kept me going is just having a good team. So I think for sure, like everyone has their strengths. And I'm sure a lot of us, you know, if it's a craft that we love, I'm sure we can all do great alone, but you can never really grow to greater heights doing everything by yourself. If I tried to run this business by myself, I would be absolutely drowning. There's so many different things to think about. And I think it's with anyone in life, you know, whatever you're doing, like have a good team around you. Again, whether you're employed, whether you're self-employed, whether you run a business, you need to make sure the people around you have, you know, common interests. And if something doesn't work, you need to, I guess, like, it's like another term that I've used recently is hire slowly, fire fast. But I guess you could apply it to just teams in general. So, you know, you want to take your time to make sure that you have the right network. So whether it's, again, how you build that team or whether it's, you know, your colleagues, you want to have a good team.
Sorry, did you say hire slow.
Hire slow, fire fast. Yeah.
These guys have some experience with slow hiring with
Yeah.
us.
So I guess what I mean by that is
Indeed.
you need to really take your time to figure out who you want to be in the team or who you want in your network, in your circle around you. Like it's very important to make the right choices there. I'm sure we've all had the term,
Indeed.
you are the sum of your closest friends, right? Or colleagues.
Indeed.
So it's so important to take your time with finding the right people to be around you, to grow with, but also if someone is not working out or there's not alignments, it's going to be very costly if that's not resolved swiftly.
Absolutely.
And it might not always be nice, but that's why, hire slowly, fire fast. Get rid of the problem, like when it's there, because the longer you try to maybe fix things, if you know it's not going to work, it's only going to halt you and your progress moving forward.
Indeed. So basically, for those who are candidates at the moment for roles and often are experiencing long delays, I think one thing to learn here is actually it's probably better that the company takes time to hire you, so they make sure they bring in the right person in the right environment, and it's actually the right company for the candidate too, for whenever they join, than joining too quickly and eventually landing into the wrong place.
I mean, we have these conversations very often with people that we work with to help them find jobs. And, sometimes we understand that it's not the most convenient thing in the world to apply for a job and have to go through 5 interview rounds. But I can almost certainly guarantee you that the company that's giving you 5 interview rounds really cares a lot more about who's in their team than the company that has got a 2-stage interview round. That would kind of like help you to gauge how invested they are into the people in the company. That's just a nugget for you.
And it also gives you more opportunities to get to know them, how they work, who they are, and how serious they are about what they're doing. If there is something you would do differently, what would that be specifically in terms of running your company, whether when you started or further down? This one thing that you definitely point at that and feel like, oh, I would definitely do this differently.
For sure. It's something I'm still working on, and it's funny, obviously, because I now do some advisory as well. So I am much better at this now. But I would say the main thing that we definitely didn't do very well at the beginning was like our business operations organization side of things. So we were just really good at what we did individually. And again, although I have a degree in business, you never really know much until you learn on the job. So for us, we were really talented people in what we'd done individually, but when we came together as a business, we had no processes set up in the beginning. We had no CRM initially at first, like to keep all of our data. So we were like a new business, but running in an old school way at the very beginning. So that is something that we've now, of course, implemented. We have solid processes in place. We have specific tools that we use to help us with our work, to optimize our workloads. There's a lot of things that we now automate to help get back time, which I think everyone in this life probably wishes they had more of. I would say that's the main thing. And again, we advise businesses all the time on how to implement these things, but we were probably a bit slow to do it all ourselves. But now that we have, you can see how much easier work becomes. Like, by all means, it can still be very hectic and stressful, but if we were still doing everything manually as we were at the beginning, it'd be impossible.
Sure. You mentioned at the beginning that as a founder, you're not really the best, or let's say the most aggressive salesperson, and you're more the type who enjoys conversations.
Yeah, I'm much more like softly slowly. Friendly approach.
Yeah. So how does that challenge you in your work? Because I mean, at the end of the day, you need to make money, right?
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that?
I think again, so for sure, I've become, I wouldn't say more confident, because I'd like to think that I'm quite confident as an individual. And if you happen to be someone that's not, there's always things that you can do to work on confidence, right? And I think that comes with, if it's confidence in work, I think it comes with knowing that you have already succeeded at certain things. So whether that's, you are a fresh grad and, you're looking to join a new company and you're worried maybe a little bit because, you haven't done some of these things before, but actually during your studies, during your dissertations, maybe you actually did, but just not actually in a company, actually in the business world. So I think, confidence comes with experience. And I think when I first started the business, I did lack some confidence, because for me, I am a very prideful person. And although I had so many examples of great work that I'd done and companies and teams that I built, and my knowledge, my actual technical knowledge is quite deep. I've taken a lot of time to learn about what I do. So I had that confidence with that side of things, but my confidence to go to clients and say, hey, like, come and work with Hug, we're this brand new agency, no one's heard of us yet, but come and work with us. That was something that I had to work on, because again, if I don't approach clients or people that I know with confidence, how are they going to trust me? And it's the same for an individual or a business. You need to believe in yourself and have confidence. Otherwise, how can you expect anybody else to? So I think for me, a big learning curve was just having more confidence in pitching my business, which now it's not a problem, but in the very early stages, it was something I had to become more confident with. But as we've discussed, I'm much more relationships focused as opposed to like pushy sales. So yes, I still need the business to generate money and we still need to win clients, but most of our clients now come through recommendations or attending events like this. So there's so many different events that you could attend that will be a mix of grads, like founders, tech professionals, operations, startup professionals, operators. So with these events, I think it's important to just network and let people know who you are. Often, if you build a relationship with someone and they know who you are and they know what you do, they will come to you if they have a need. And if they don't, and they have people in their networks that, they speak to, that might turn around and say, hey, do you know like a really good software engineer? Or do you know a really good agency that can help us find talent? Then automatically that person will be sharing your names in rooms that you're not in because you built the relationship with them. So I think that's a change that I've had to make, just more confidence. But again, it comes with networking, getting out there more, and just honing in on your craft a bit more to give you that confidence as well.
Sure. So two more things that are coming to my mind now. As a founder, right, how do you position regarding, number one, the need for experience / a lot of experience, work experience, before starting a company, like you did in a specific field, probably a field that you worked in or not. Mm-hmm. And also the other dimension, which is academic journeys. Mm-hmm. How much are those needed really, and how do you feel that in your own journey or experience?
Sure. So first question, are we talking about my direct experience or?
Both, if you like. Not only your own experience, and more in general for people who would be interested in, do I need a lot of experience in the field before starting a company in it, or do I need to study in a particular field for X, Y, Z reasons? We're not talking about jobs or sectors for which you do need a license or you do need a degree, but more in general, what has been the contribution of academic knowledge plus work experience, and the gap that can exist when you don't have real experience in the sector? Sure. And this can even go as far as bringing into this insight relationships with people from the industry, because sometimes you can have all the knowledge, but because you've not worked in the sector, you don't know people, and you can come as some sort of imposter.
Yeah.
So,
okay, sure. So this could be any industry wide. So I would say, again, the landscape has changed. So just to give some insight, I've been doing recruitment for about 7 years now. And when I started recruitment, the world was a lot different. A lot of companies needed to see a degree or needed to see some experience before you could even have a shot at getting the job that you wanted, which again, it can be, considered unfair sometimes, and I agree. And I think the only route back then to get into a job, one of the only routes, would be, having to get an internship or knowing someone so you can get in there. And it was just so much harder to break into like the tech and digital world unless you'd had that experience or knew certain people. I think one of the main changes now is that, there's a lot more leniency with this across all roles. So you see now, still, of course, having a degree is great by all means. And there are lots of jobs that still would ideally require you to have a degree. But there are also lots of positions that we fill at the moment that typically in the past, for example, engineering, software engineering or data science, you would have had to have a specific degree to get into that. Now we see people that are like career switchers or people that maybe didn't have a degree, didn't have experience in like tech prior, but you see so many more boot camps now, and like boot camps, I'd say the most common, like Makers Academy, things like this, to learn the skills. And a lot of these boot camps and the Code First Girls as well, they put you in a placement to actually learn on the job as well. So that's a way you can break into the market. I'd say something else that would be probably one of the most beneficial things to do with network is a different social presence that you can have. So LinkedIn, of course, is probably the biggest. I would say LinkedIn is like super important if you want to grow your network in the space that you're looking to be part of or that you're already a part of. And you can see it a lot, even me, with the people that I tend to hire for businesses. A lot of the time, the people that you see getting placed in the best jobs and, really exciting companies don't always have the most experience, but they really worked on optimizing their profile. How do I make it look more appealing to the industry that I want to go in? How do I make sure that people that I want to know who I am, how will they know who I am? So things like making sure, you have your picture on your profile, you have a nice bio that tells people, what you're interested in or what you've studied, or again, like share a bit more about you so people can get to know who you are. You tend to find people that have, very bog standard LinkedIn with just, I've got this degree, I've done this placement, and you've got no bio, no information about you. Those tend to be the types of people that find it a lot harder to land a job in the market today. But yeah, if you are building a LinkedIn profile, there's also groups on LinkedIn. So whatever it is you're studying or you've studied or whatever industry you want to get into, you can join groups, meet others that are also within that industry. Also posting. I know, again, it comes back to the confidence. Sometimes you might not feel super confident to post something on LinkedIn that's going to go out to the whole network. But again, I think it's important, and that will help you build confidence too, like to post regularly, and then again, build a network of people that are within this market so that people start to know who you are. And those people, I would say, especially in the earlier career stages, like grads and post-grads, that is probably the best tip that I could give you for helping to land a new role. Just grow your network, go to events, use LinkedIn the best that you can. And then also, maybe a little bit biased, but build a very small network of recruiters, agency recruiters like myself, I would say. So obviously, I don't think I could cater to all because I'm much more tech and product orientated. But if you, I guess I can talk to some of you afterwards on how to do this, but there's something called a Boolean search. I'm sure you guys online can Google it if you like. But a Boolean search is a way to search via job boards, LinkedIn, anything with a search engine. You can search with something called a Boolean search. It uses parentheses and or to set different parameters of a search. So for example, let's say you study, just because it's where my knowledge lies, let's say you studied mathematics and you want to go into engineering and you don't know where to start, but you're going to look at learning a few languages. Let's just say it's Python. So what you might do on LinkedIn is type in a Boolean search to search for Python engineers or Python leads in London. So you would search for people that are relative to what you are trying to get into and connect with them. So if you just want to note that down, Boolean search, that will help you find.
How do you spell that for people who...
Yeah, sure. So BOOLEAN, Boolean. Okay. And yeah, what you can do, you can use it to find jobs, you can use it to find people, and you can use it, like I said, through most like search engines with a search bar. You can use the search there, and that will really help you to find the right people to connect with.
Sure. I'm mindful of time, and we have so much more to cover, but there's a very important one that I'm thinking of right now, which is in terms of where to start your company nowadays. What has the UK/London contributed versus any other place in the world? If you were to do it again today, in a world that's changed so much in the past 5 years, where would you do this, and how relevant is the UK or /London is versus other places?
I still think, if we're looking at it from a business perspective, I have my own views on London and new laws, legislations, tax rules. So if you're going to ask me from a business perspective, I would say if I was to set up a business again, I may not set it up in London just because of, again, not saying that the bottom line is always revenue from a business perspective, but also it is somewhat. And naturally, with a lot of the changes that have happened in the UK lately, for a lot of people that do have bigger goals when it comes to the revenue that they want to make from their business, London is now not probably not the best place for that. But that is like a very political discussion that could go on for a long time. So I guess from like someone looking for work and breaking into industries.
What would you change? Three things that you would change or you would improve for policymakers who probably would watch this.
What would I change in London?
No, if you were to recommend anything to policymakers to make the landscape better for founders, what are the three things?
So I think one key point would be like the talent visas. So if any of you are familiar, there were certain skill shortages in the UK, especially within tech, and a lot of companies are hiring from outside the UK, bringing talent to the UK. Because of certain changes in laws, it's a bit harder to get people from overseas to London now. So I think maybe some changes when it comes to the talent visas and how that works. Of course, you need to have significant skill levels within a certain area to be able to qualify to get like a talent visa in the UK, but I'm pretty sure it's similar for other regions of the world as well. So that would maybe be a change to make to get talent over here with more ease. I think also another change would be, it's not going to work for every company, but for companies that are operating on a global scale, a little bit more flexibility with remote working. So after COVID, we saw that everyone was very, very, very remote. Now, lots of companies are asking employees to come back in 5 days a week. And I personally don't necessarily agree with that. I think hybrid is a good mix, depending on company size and what you are doing, because it's good to have FaceTime with your team. And a lot of the time when you have that FaceTime, so many more ideas come from those team days. So I'm a big fan of hybrid, but I think for certain roles, you don't always need to be there in person. And I think sometimes companies are missing talent because they're so set on, we need this person 5 days a week in the office, when they could have people that are amazing just working from elsewhere. I guess.
And the third one, eventually?
Third one, changes. I think, I'm not too sure what else I would change from I guess, my perspective right now. I think it would be nicer to see more businesses taking like graduate schemes. Again, we talk about the skills. I might be like conflicting with what I just said. As much as it is great to bring talent from outside of the UK and diversify your teams, but you also have to remember that for those that are born here or have grown up here, you know, we need to be nurturing our own talent as well as talent from elsewhere. And I think, again, a lot of the times companies will be happy to hire someone with a little bit more experience from outside of the UK. But really, you know, if they had something like a grad scheme, they would be able to bring that talent in and actually shape and mold and develop that talent. And that person could be a great asset to their business. So I think more graduate schemes.
Sure. So to focus now on evolving roles within tech, and I would like to extend this to engineering.
Yes.
Right? Number one, how have these evolved in the past 5 years? How is the workplace being reshaped from the perspective of these changes, the new skill sets, the new ways of working, the new requirements, etc.? What has changed really in engineering/tech?
I think tech as a whole, whether it is, again, my knowledge is deeper when it comes to engineering, but whether you are product, whether you're in like an operator type role, you know, operations, HR, people, talent, whether you are in maybe a product role, I feel like now every role that we are working on, whether it's like an actual technical role, whether it's not, every role that we are working on now incorporates some sort of technology, whether it's AI and automation, whether it's, you know, for example, for us, there are tools that we use like MetaView. This is something that you use to, it basically scribes your meetings that are virtual and gives you, your meeting notes with using AI. So there's tools like that. Now, so many companies, product managers using Notion and apps like this to help and incorporate with their work. There's lots of like CRMs and data systems that are now incorporating a lot of automation and AI and tooling to help.
And what does it require?
So it requires upskilling.
Both people who are already there and those who are joining. So to sort of focus and be a bit like super accurate, number one, what does it require in terms of skills to develop to embrace these changes? And number two, what's the new landscape, like basically tech jobs landscape today versus 5 years ago in terms of the roles that you're hiring more and more for that people need to be aware of?
Yeah, sure. So I guess in terms of the landscape today, so just touching very quickly on the previous topic. So I'd say the main changes is upskilling. So for those, I guess, like older generation that have been working in their jobs for a long period of time, they're having to really upskill and educate themselves on new technology so that they can incorporate that into their work. And then I think for the younger generation, we are much more maybe technically savvy. So for us, it's not as hard to adapt to any new like tools that we are using. So I'd say, yeah, upskilling and companies actively, using learning and development budgets to help those that need the support to learn these new skills.
What should they focus on specifically? Like,
It's more like,
imagine I want to upskill. She wants to upskill. What's the first step? What is it that people need to know?
It's more like digital optimization, but I couldn't say one thing specific unless I knew exactly what you did for work, right? So if it was a software engineer, for example, right? If it was a software engineer, you need really good programming skills as well as design skills, architecture skills, and also people skills, communication, cross-collaboration skills. Previously, for example, with software engineers, you had to be really, really great at programming, and you still do. But now there are lots of AI tools that can also help you build software. I'm sure many of us have seen this recently with all these AI tools that can create apps for you. Whether they work very well or not, that's up for debate. But yeah, for example, engineer before would have to be really great at programming, and great at everything. Now we've got so many tools helping with things like programming. So now they might have to upskill themselves in a different area. For example, we're working with a client right now who is finding it challenging as they've got a skills gap when it comes to system design and architecture. So this is one area within engineering. And often, for example, working on like large scalability is not easy.
Yep.
So, for example, they might bring in tools to help those engineers make the programming side of things a lot easier for them so they can focus on learning in other areas. So I think it's not necessarily always upskilling in loads of different areas, but it's what tools can we bring in to help make our work a little bit easier so we can focus on the things that are harder that we can't necessarily automate or optimize. So I think that's a big change now, like working on good optimization where it can be, and then those areas that we can't change with technology, we focus on more.
Sure. Would you say that these recent changes in terms of skill set and landscape are making it obviously easier for tech people and harder for others who don't come from tech backgrounds, who do need to embrace these and ramp up quite quickly?
I would say I think with the different tools that are being implemented in many different organizations right now, I don't think it's going to be super difficult for those that are not coming from a technical background to upskill themselves, because a lot of these tools now, they are super user friendly. So it's like probably like a 10-year-old could learn how to use some of these things as long as you show them. So it's not like them asking you to learn completely different skills that will take you a long time to learn. These are just things that you might do day to day manually, or as a project manager, you might, previously have been doing all your notes manually yourself. You might have been doing all your spreadsheets manually using Excel. It takes forever, right? But with all these new tools, it's just a case of learning how to use something different. The same way that you learn how to use Microsoft Word, you can learn how to use these tools. So I think it's an openness to learn, and I think the struggle is not everyone is open to these changes. And of course, I've got positive and negative views on a lot of the tech changes in the world today. But it's like if we go back however many years ago, no one knew what the internet was back then, and everyone was so worried, this thing called the internet, what is it going to change the world? And now it has changed the world, but for the better. Of course, there are still people that use the internet for terrible things, but majority of us use it for good, and it's benefited the world. So I think it's the same for things like AI today. Of course, there are so many things that are a little bit worrying that can go wrong if in the wrong hands. But for the majority of people of the world, things like this are going to help to make your life easier, and they should be seen as tools to help you be better at your job, as opposed to this is going to take my job. For really easy skills and maybe tasks like admin work, unfortunately, it may take some jobs with things like this where you don't really need a person behind what you're doing. But for anything where you actually need personable skills and you need a bit more than just technology, then it should be used as a tool, and it should really help you accelerate in your career.
Sure. So before the last two questions, very quickly, about tech roles that for which companies are hiring a lot. The key
roles right now
that companies are hiring more and more these days.
So first, yes, of course, I'm going to say engineers. software engineers, but this could be anything from AI engineers to data science to machine learning. There is a lot more demand for machine learning and data science now because with that line of work comes automation as well. So a big search for like ML and data science right now, and cloud technologies. Cloud technologies are skills that everyone can use, whether you're a project manager, whether you're a digital transformation manager, whether you're whatever you might do. A lot of people are using cloud skills now, so upskill in that area. Also, a lot of companies, I would say this is more so larger scale organizations, but digital transformation managers, you see a lot of roles coming in now for this type of person, because again, when you have really large orgs and you've got people that are very young in the business and people that are like the opposite end that might not be as tech savvy, again, you need to have someone that's going to come in and be able to educate everybody on those changes. What does this look like? What does it mean for the business? So digital transformation managers and people around this, engineering, product, product managers, but also we're seeing a high demand now for technical product managers as well. I won't go into in depth because this can mean a lot of things. What else?
Sure. Okay.
I think those are like the main three.
The main ones. Okay.
So
probably a last question, because normally in 1 minute, for those who have other commitments, we need to have sort of closed the session. Last question, what's the future of...
I think the future is more...
workforce in the age of sustainability, tech?
I think overall it would be like we're going to see more lean and agile teams. No longer are we just going to be hiring like for numbers. I think a lot of companies before, like you're hiring to get bums on seats, and of course everyone is going to help the business grow, but now it's like businesses are really looking for people that are going to make a change, right, and that are going to be impactful and add value. So it's no longer just we're going to hire people that are okay. Most businesses now, they're really looking for exceptional people to join because they want to work in more of a lean environment. So I think that's a change that we're going to see. And again, just digital adoption. I think a lot of businesses, also I guess it would help with sustainability, is just, adapting to digital changes. And that can mean so many different things, but I'm conscious of time. But I think those are just the main changes that we will see.
Any final words?
If anybody would like to talk more in depth about certain things, of course, feel free to reach out, because this is, it's hard for me to tailor to everybody in the room because everyone is so different. But I mean, if you came to me on a personal level, I always try to make time for everyone and can try and give you more
social media, LinkedIn.
Yes, so my LinkedIn is, I can share with you after, Ellé, surname Shum, SHU. The business is Hug Recruitment, so you can have a look at us online. Otherwise, you can come and chat to me and I can share those details with you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ellé. Thank you to those who's joined us online, those who are here in person. I think it's been a great session. We've had a very insightful one. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you very much to Ellé. Thank you.
Thank you.
And maybe see you next year and understand more the further progress.
Also, just for any grads, we have like a graduate scheme to help place people into some quite large tech companies, but not just for technical roles. So if anyone wants to have a chat, drop me a message.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone online. We hope you too enjoyed this, and see you soon.